What? No webbing and no dodging at the same time? Just why? Okay, so no webbing is actually pretty easy, but obviously you guys liked it. So to make things just a little bit harder, there's no dodging. And no, I'm not a masochist. I'm adding the extra challenge because, okay, that was a lie. I have some problems. Anyways, thank you Rain Osborne and Spider-Man for the challenge ideas that I have Frankensteined into this thing of a video. And now let's speedrun through the rules because there are a lot of them. Number 1, no webs. This includes gadgets, however webs can be used if necessary to advance through the game. An example is vents. Number 2, no fast traveling at all. Yep, we're going full torture here. Number 3, the circle button is completely off limits. That means no dodging. And finally, I have to play on ultimate because of the whole, you know, masochist thing. One thing before getting into the video, I don't like doing this, but I put a lot of effort into these videos and they take a while to make, so if you enjoy it, then please consider subscribing. Okay, so we start off the game and I'm running for about 5 minutes straight. Yep, get used to this because it's like 30% of this game. Kill me. Okay, enough of me whining. I ran into the first small group of enemies and I was super worried because I had no idea of how not dodging would even work. But surprisingly, it wasn't too bad. If you prioritize the gunman and use jumping as a dodge, it kinda works. Or you could jump face first into a fucking fist, but I've heard that it's poor etiquette to laugh at the disabled, so I'll stop making fun of myself. We then entered into this abandoned museum and had to look around for some clues as to where everyone went. Wait, why are these guards' fingerprints like this? What the hell were they eating? What glow sticks? Mom always made the best glow sticks growing up. So we have to stop these guys from stealing any paintings, but it was kinda hard because when indoors, Peter controls like a rat covered in glue. And don't ask how I know what a rat covered in glue feels like, it's a long story. But anyways, my expectations were pretty high from that last fight, but that was a massive mistake. Okay, I have to be honest, jumping is a pretty easy and decent alternative to dodging. That's not the case at all though when it comes to gunmen. Say there's a gunman 30 feet in front of you, normally you just web zip over. My dumbass can't do that. My best bet was to just jump and hope that I didn't get hit. So after 30 minutes of fighting, Peter could have tried out for the live action version of SpongeBob. Yeah, it was that bad. My fists? Is this a multiple choice question? So after meeting up with Black Cat, we're back onto the streets in New York, meaning more fucking running. I hate myself.
Attention units, we have reports of a suspicious transaction being conducted on a rooftop.
Well, that's not my problem.
Times Square. Proceed with caution.
Well, this is awkward. Okay, see ya. I then had to go through some mini games, nothing too interesting, but I got to meet up with Detective Nakey to have a very important conversation. Can you see me? Now you can't. Now you can. Yeah, that glow stick joke earlier is starting to make a lot of sense now, huh? I then got to some more running. Okay, yeah, the whole entire running shtick is starting to get a little repetitive. Alright, every single scene transition I do, just always assume that it took me 10 minutes and a handful of antidepressants to get there, okay? But anyways, after getting a call from Screwball, I had just a little bit too much fun sending people to their deaths. Well, you know, I just like sending people to a better place than New York.
I just love reality shows, don't you?
Some people do anything for clicks.
The nerve of some people, am I right, guys? Guys? Okay, seriously, we got to a challenge and I was a little bit anxious. Now this challenge is kinda tricky, but all it really requires is a little bit of testing and routing. We then got into a chase with Black Cat, and while at first it's easy because we don't even have access to our webs, that all changes right here. We open up to the big city and Felicia is way faster than us. There's no hope to catch up to her. Thankfully though, she happens to run in the same circles around the city. So after a little bit of memorization, I was able to catch her off guard. We then took a little train trip and unfortunately we have to web zip here. Yeah, there's nothing we can do. I proceeded to shove pizza down my throat hole and went to the bathroom. I came back and realized I was playing as MJ. Yeah, I stood on this road for about 30 minutes. No one was willing to run me over. Man, I thought this New York was the teensiest bit realistic. Okay, Felicia and I got to a sneaking section, which was tedious since I can't distract enemies, but it was just a lot of waiting. Oh, hey, only 2 guys left. This should be pretty— We then got to more sneaking, and yeah, like I said before, it's just really slow because of the whole, you know, no webbing thing. Peter then dawdled into a fight with bald guy number 574, and this fight sucked. Mostly because there were guns on top of guns on top of— oh yeah, even more fucking guns. And while that might sound like a wet dream to some of the Americans in the audience, this was just painful. But nonetheless, I was able to finish it all off. We then got Spider Cucks for the final time, and yeah, that was the first DLC complete. To be honest, it was just a lot of running around and was kinda boring, but that being said, we're on to DLC number 2. So we start off the second DLC in another fight, so yeah, you've heard it all already. I wanna smash my head into my controller, yada yada yada. Now see, this is why Peter is a hero. He doesn't let the little things like narcolepsy stop him from doing his job. 1 second he's punching bad guys in the face, the next he's holding a baby. I don't see what could go wrong here. But anyways, Peter's sleeping schedule aside, I was able to finish off the fight and entered into Hammerhead's hideout. I was surprised though because there was actual new content. Not more running around or just punching bad guys again, but actual refreshing story. I slowly turned into my uncle as I was genuinely happy while looking at a dead body lying on a bed. Like my dad always said, you always need a showering buddy. Now that I think about it, what were you guys doing in here? See, why are these bodies positioned like this? And why was that guy talking to himself? And why is this body covered in sticky white stuff? That last one was me. My bad. Anyways, weird pervy stuff aside, we then had to rescue Yuri and oh god, I totally read the room wrong. You know, it's just the bodies and the showering. Yeah, I'll let myself out now. Anyways, let's all forget that just happened. Oh, I know. Let's do some challenges to clear the head, if you know what I mean.
Never speak of this moment again. You hear me?
Alright, it already worked. I already forgot about your what's-its-face. I then got to another trail mission and found that it was surprisingly fun to get hit by a car. What else have you been hiding from me, Grandma? But unfortunately, these dickwads ended my playtime early, so it's fighting time again, and surprisingly, I actually have something to say about it. Man, this DLC is awesome. Okay, these shield boys are introduced, and it's impossible to dodge their charges by jumping. It's also super hard to attack them, as usually you dodge to get them off balance, but I can't do that. These two things combined make shield boys way harder than gunmen, but focus does still work on them, so it was never impossible, just ball-bustingly hard. We then got a call from Screwball and had to go through a sneak challenge, and again, because of my lack of webs, it was annoyingly hard. I spent more than an hour figuring out the perfect route. I went through failure after failure after failure and had nothing to show for it. I would make it all the way to the end, but trip up on the teensiest thing, and as I was researching how to hang yourself with a PS4 charger, I realized that I could just leave the challenge. Yeah, just leave. And guess what? It worked. I was able to just skip this section. I tried playing hot potato with cars, it worked worryingly well, and speaking of cars, it's chase time again. This time with 2 trucks, and unfortunately, these guys are so much faster than us that it's almost impossible to catch up to them. And I did say almost for a reason. My plan was simple, just hop around the city and wait for a car to cross me by sheer chance. And yes, this plan is incredibly stupid, but sometimes the stupidest plans work, and I was able to catch both of these trucks, no web zips required. That being said, I did have a mini heart attack when I hopped onto the trucks because I thought dodging was required, but thankfully it isn't. So Yuri pulled a Yuri and went a little off the rails after our underwear fiasco, and of course it's our job to track her down. Fortunately though, we have a lead, Hammerhead's right-hand man, Vinny.
There's Vinny. Better stay close, but not too close.
Yeah, cause if we get too close then Vinny might see a... Okay, Vinny might be blind? and deaf, so this shouldn't be too hard. And it really wasn't. I don't really know how Vinny could drive, but that doesn't matter. What does matter is that I got to a super important sneak mission. You know, it's really good to know that the Mafia doesn't discriminate and will hire anyone from the blind to deaf to even the brain dead. Really good on them. So as you could probably tell, sneaking wasn't too hard. But you know what is hard? Transitions, I'm not very good at writing them. Well, anyways, we then got over to Hammerhead's place and faced off in probably the second hardest fight in the entire game. So you know the drill by now. This fight sucked. I don't really know why this fight sucked in particular, but it might have had something to do with the minigun that was repeatedly getting shoved up my ass. But you know how I said this was the second hardest fight? Well, that's because the next one is the hardest. I mean, other than nailing down my window as to not jump out of it in a fit of rage, this boss fight was all really just pattern recognition, staying close by, and making sure to use all of your focus attacks. But let me elaborate a little more as to give you an idea of what this boss fight was like. Problem number 1, this guy has guns and the charge attack, both of which can't be avoided by jumping. But he only does these attacks at long range, so as long as you stay close by, this should be fine. Problem number 2, he flies. Problem number 3, he has friends with him, which makes the whole stay close by thing kinda hard when your ass is getting repeatedly blasted. Or you could just ignore everything I just said and go out of bounds while waiting for your battle focus to recharge. It does give Hammerhead a little bit of a seizure, but it saved me from one, so I did it a couple of times. Okay, I did it a lot. This fight was hard. Stop judging me. And after an amount of time that I'm actually too embarrassed to tell you, I made Hammerhead hammer dead. Okay, well, Yuri actually shot him in the fucking face. It was pretty messed up. But yeah, that's DLC 2 knocked out of the park. Now let's just hope that DLC 3 doesn't break me. So this DLC starts off with some more running, my favorite, and we got introduced to some new enemies. They're faster, stronger, and okay, yeah, that was a lie. I didn't notice any difference. Anyways, this guy wanted to play piggy in the middle with me. I refused, and then somehow got into a fight with a Karen hopped up on protein powder. Now this boss fight is probably what you imagined when you first heard no dodging. When Sable attacks, there is no way to evade. You can jump when she attacks, but it just doesn't work. Also, her guard is constantly up, so there's no way to attack her. So, naturally, since I suck at video games, I started to look around for exploits, and luckily, I found the perfect one. See, when Sable lands from a jump, she temporarily gets off balance, meaning that you can attack her a couple of times. So, jump from one platform to another, and ta-da! This boss fight is now a piece of cake. We then got another call from Screwball, and I started to get some serious PTSD flashbacks, but thankfully, it was just a quick chase mission. Huh, interesting technique. Alright, finish up, Spidey, then I'll kick your ass. It's not necrophilia if we're both dead, right? I think I just found a loophole. Anyways, I then got to a chase, which was fine and all, but this chase was back to back to back to back. Okay, you get the idea. It was ball torture. But after using my strategy of just guessing where the cars will go next, I was able to finish it off in only a couple of tries.
She's gonna kill someone!
Peter, what the fuck? She might kill someone. Did you not see her blow up that car? Because unless that car was full of gingers, she's definitely already killed some people. Anyways, calming down, I then got to play as Peter, and god was it weird not being able to use my web. Oh, okay, wait. Hey, this is actually pretty realistic. Can't wait to see how they change this feature in the Miles Morales game. We then got to probably the hardest chase so far with Sable. It didn't really help that the glued rack controls came up again, but thankfully after many attempts and some tricky platforming, I got through it all. We then found out that Hammerhead turned himself into this thing somehow, but more importantly, I almost got to see a Spider-Man smoothie. Ugh, almost. Anyways, I then got to swim around in some sewer water. Yeah, this section kinda sucked, because once you get in the water, you're stuck in it. It doesn't really help that Peter's swimming speed is that of a baked turtle, and oh yeah, I'm swimming in shit. That part also kinda sucked, believe it or not.
Wow, if Hammerhead gets his hands on this thing, we're in serious trouble.
Peter, why worry about a boat? The man literally turned himself into a walking dishwasher, and you're worrying about a fucking boat. We then got to probably the largest fight yet, so me and Sable teamed up. Okay, I watched her do all the work, but you know, moral support is still support. Okay, I'm joking. This fight was just torture. I actually like to call this section Peter Learns to Fly for about an hour because that's what it technically was. But other than the constant dying, this fight wasn't all too bad. So we then got to see the glorious boat that Peter was so scared of for a very important mission that Sable called us for. Okay, so you need us to calibrate. You called me as an engineer? You know that I'm Spider-Man, right? Not Bob the fucking Builder. So after finishing up the jet, which involved throwing barrels for some reason, we got to the final boss fight of the game, and it was quite the doozy. First, there are punches that come at the force of small trucks, lasers that laser, air missiles, ground missiles, and a cinematic attack that does more damage than my dad on report card day. And guess what? None of these attacks can be avoided by jumping. Even the punches, it's insane. But I did have a strategy. Okay, since Hammerhead can mash your ass in a couple of seconds by just standing near you, you need to stay away as far as possible. That is until your focus bar refills, as that's the only way we're gonna do any damage. Actually, the goons here are gonna be your best friends, as they give you something to jump off of for laser attacks, and they also help you build up your focus. And I know what you're thinking, a boss whose attacks can't be avoided? This is just impossible. And yeah, I was thinking the exact same thing while getting flung for the 15th time. But suddenly, a weird burst of confidence grew in me, and I knew that this next run was it. I then proceeded to die in about 5 seconds, but the run after that I went further than I'd ever gone before. My hands almost started to twitch as I dodged and weaved between lasers, but just as things started to look up, I got trapped in a cinematic attack, meaning that I was basically screwed. So as a last-ditch effort, I started to just mash the attack button, and surprisingly, that's all it took. I had built up enough focus attacks earlier to actually take him down. I then realized that I was done. I didn't have to stay in this no webbing and no dodging hellhole anymore. And that's it! This video took me a while to make, so if you enjoyed it, then please consider subscribing, and if you liked it, well, then you can like it. I know that some of you might have thought that I died, and yeah, trust me, I'm more surprised than you are that I'm still alive. But yeah, thanks for watching. Hopefully I'll see you in a week, but if I'm being realistic, my lazy ass will probably take a month.